Hey, this is Alex Piak, and welcome to the Dominant Agent Podcast, the place where real estate agents and brokers come to learn directly from the top agents, coaches, trainers, and industry influencers on how to build profitable, scalable, and enjoyable businesses by becoming the dominant agent in their market so they can live life on their terms. Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the Dominant Agent Podcast. I am your host, Alex Piak, and as you know, we are committed to helping real estate agents build profitable, scalable, and enjoyable real estate businesses by bringing you access to the absolute best agents, coaches, trainers, and influencers in the industry. And our guest today checks all of those boxes. Today, we're going to be talking with Carlos German. Carlos is a broker, associate, and team leader with eXp Realty, currently leading a group of over 800 expert advisors throughout the country. Carlos is regarded as a leader and innovator in the real estate community. Some of his accomplishments include being a best-selling author, being featured on Forbes Magazine and called the Ninja of Real Estate, and becoming a Realtor Magazine 30 under 30 agent. Carlos is originally from the Dominican Republic, and when he migrated to the United States at the age of 15, he cherished every little resource and opportunity available and gave it his best to ensure that he could become successful. In his spare time, Carlos enjoys watersports and spending time with his wife, Rosemary, and son, Hector, while reading books about amazing companies and entrepreneurs who have changed the way we live today. Carlos, welcome to the Dominant Agent Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Alex. That was an amazing read of my bio there. I was actually listening to that. I was like, really? That's all that's going on? Pretty cool.
Yeah, man. You've done a lot, dude. You've accomplished a tremendous amount in a fairly short period of time. So I'm excited to share your story with people. I've had the privilege of knowing you now since 2014. So we go back. So I've heard a lot, just personally getting to know you and Rosemary. Like I know your backstory, and it's impressive. It's inspiring. So I want to share that because, in real estate, man, it's a mixed bag. There's people from all walks of life. And what's exciting is there's successful real estate agents with all sorts of backgrounds. So man, was there anything else you wanted to share that you think are really important for our listeners that we might have missed in that intro?
No, I think at the end of the day, one big thing is I sold 3 houses my first year. Okay, so this was not an overnight success. I was lost. I didn't know what would work in real estate. I was out there like a lot of agents that were thrown into this industry because it looked appealing, it looked fun, it looked like you could really have a good living. However, it only takes, a week of training to get a real estate license. And they don't teach you how to be successful in the business. And by the way, I commend all the agents that are listening to this podcast right now because they are way ahead of the game. I didn't start listening to podcasts and reading books until a few years into my real estate career. And that was one of the things that made the biggest difference, the biggest impact. And it started adding up and creating exponential growth for me in my business. And they're already on that journey by listening to your podcast, Alex, which is world-class and amazing. So congrats on everything that you're doing. And so I just wanted to throw that in there because I know there are a lot of people that are like, man, I can't make this work. I don't know. I may just quit. And you're in the right track if you're listening to this podcast for sure.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate it. That is absolutely 100% why we do this, is because you've experienced that. I've experienced that. I have a belief that a majority of real estate agents are experiencing that. You take your test, you go to school, and you are taught how to pass a test. You're not taught how to be a business person. You're not taught marketing, lead generation, conversion, strategy, anything that you actually need to be able to do to build a legitimate business. So the first year you're at 3 sales. What was the progression? Where was the breakthrough? When did you start getting some momentum? Like, what were the first 3 years like?
Yeah, so my second year wasn't so much better. I still, as I said, I was lost. I wasn't growing. I was not, and when I mean growing my mind, like I really was not necessarily learning from a proven model. And that's your first takeaway. I mean, the first thing you need to do is find successful agents that you can model. It doesn't matter what stage of the game you're in. Like if you're selling 50 houses and you're trying to get to 100, well, you better put yourself in rooms with agents that are selling 100 plus, right? If you're only selling 3 and you need to get to 20, make sure you're in rooms and masterminding and learning and duplicating, being a copycat of the people that are doing 20 sales. Because at the end of the day, everything has been done already. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. So I didn't know that. I was young. I started at 22 years old. I have been working in IT, technology and computers was my background before real estate. So I have been working on that. I kind of hit a ceiling on it and got into real estate because I knew I was a hard worker. And I knew that by working hard, I could create a much better lifestyle than the one I had in IT. And I was really, grinding it on IT and technology. So with that, I venture into real estate, not knowing a lot, being young and ignorant. And second year, I just, doubled my sales from 3 to 7 because of brute force. I was just working harder, not smarter. All right. My girlfriend at the time, Rosemary, who you mentioned earlier, she moved in with me and she was supporting the household. She was actually, and she didn't know English, by the way. She was learning English. She was cleaning houses, cleaning toilets, working as a cashier. And this guy didn't want to get a part-time job because I only do one thing at a time. Like, I'm not that smart. I'm not that talented. I'm like, nope, I'm just doing real estate. Just give me another few months, baby. I got this. We're going to make it. And that turned into like 24 months. But she trusted me and supported us and let me hustle. And I was just locked in. And I was working. It wasn't that I was not working, but I was working hard, not smart. So then by that third year is when I started duplicating. I started learning from others. I started going on YouTube and listening to podcasts and watching videos and learning like this one today, right? So taking some of those strategies, some of those models in the areas that I was passionate about, which for me was online lead generation, I was able to implement, duplicate, found some communities and joined those communities. And I went from 7 sales to 29 sales. So that was my first major breakthrough there.
Yeah, that's a good jump, man. 7 to 30. You mentioned a lot of really good nuggets right there that I hope people picked up on. A lot of the copycat, don't reinvent the wheel. But, if you're at 7, the baby step is get to 20. Don't go model the guy doing 300-400 transactions because he can invest in lower ROI lead sources because of the cash flow of the business. Where if you did that, it could be catastrophic, right? So I love that idea of finding the people who are at that next stage, really duplicating the things that are you're interested in, and don't try to reinvent the wheel. If something's working, just go with it. I feel like, real estate agents inherently, they like to tinker with things. Like you give them a script that converts at 70% and they want to go change words in it. It's like, no. Just read it the way I wrote it. It works phenomenally well, right? I think that's just inherently who we are, right? As entrepreneurs, you always want to play with things. But so online lead generation, were you drawn to that because of your IT background, just kind of being a computer guy?
Absolutely. And one thing that I learned as I was looking at duplication, right, and trying to find what I wanted to duplicate is that there's a lot of shiny objects out there. And everybody knows that in real estate. There's a lot of people saying they're highly successful with this and with that. And now in hindsight, they're all true, by the way. all these successful agents that are crushing it with for sale by owners or expires or online lead generation or Craigslist, all those things can have success if you master it, right? The challenge is that we dig shallow holes. And if we're digging shallow holes, we're never going to build an oil well. We're never going to strike oil and become multimillionaires with the oil, right? So at the end of the day, you have to pick something that you're willing to go deep on. Because in my opinion, everything can work if you make it work. Okay, so for me, I had a love for technology and real estate, and online seemed like a great lead generation opportunity. And what I did was I started with one community website. So I did one community website, and I went on forums and I started duplicating things that they were doing to generate leads online. And that's where I went deep on. And absolutely, it had to do with my passion of technology. I still had that. I still have that today. I love it. And being in real estate, I just wanted to kind of merge the two and marry the two and create, an amazing lifestyle and experience for me.
Yeah, I love that. So you doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on your strengths and just focused on what you were good at versus focusing on something that was a weakness where you would have so much like uphill resistance to get that implemented, which I think is another mistake people do. Like if you are a great face-to-face communicator, you could do, 30 to 50 transactions just being a networker. Easy. Go to all the networking events because that's your strength. If you have a computer background, you can hack your way around to building these amazing lead conversion sites. If you're great over the phone, you can crush it in prospecting. So another huge benefit of real estate, you can be successful multiple different ways. There is no one right way, but you nailed it. You got to go deep. You got to become an expert in your one thing. You got to double down on your strengths. So you went community website, and this was back what year?
This was, so I started in 2006, at the end of 2006. So really my first full year was 2007. And I started that website in 2009. Okay. So by the way, this was right through the downturn as the real estate market was crashing. Agents were leaving the industry in droves. I remember when I got in, there were like 1.4 million agents or 1.6. By the time the market had completely crashed, there were like 800,000. And Florida, where I'm from, and I'm in Orlando, was one of the hardest hit markets. So we lost, if the National Association of Realtors lost 50% of agents, I think we probably lost here like 70, I don't know. But at the end of the day, it was a tough market. One thing that I want to make sure I emphasize is the personality type. I'm not a networker. Like I'm an introvert in nature. Like I'm a geek, I'm a coder, I'm that kind of guy, right? I could never make it as a networker selling 20, 30 houses, mingling with people in parties and stuff like that. That's not me. I would have failed at that. I would have failed on the phone. I just can't be on the phone 3-4 hours a day prospecting. I just can't do that. So yeah, you hit it in the head. You gotta focus on your strength, double down on them, and go deep on that. So the reason I picked the community website is because obviously focusing on generating leads, I didn't want to compete at a large scale. I didn't have a lot of power. I'm just an independent agent, right? So I'm not going to go for Orlando real estate online. I'm not going to go for Central Florida real estate. I'm not going to try to capitalize on any big major market. I'm going to start small. So I just picked one community, and I started adding a ton of value to the neighbors, the neighborhood through this website. I created a website that had a lot of information about the community. and it was better than anything that was out there. And it also has the listings for sale and obviously opportunities for them to engage with me in real estate. And because I was targeting this community and I added so much content, I was able to organically rank up that website.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's awesome. So there's a content strategy.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you were doing content before anybody was doing content. I mean, that's exactly what that is. That is a content strategy, adding tremendous value. I mean, Gary V, right? Jab, 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 right hook, just putting it out there. And eventually you were positioned as the go-to agent because of the value you added. I love that. Now, today, could we do something similar, leveraging like a Facebook community page?
Absolutely. And even the website model works, and the Facebook community page works amazingly well. And it's a combination nowadays. It's a combination. You gotta hit them by land, by air, by sea, because we have that opportunity now. So I currently implement those strategies. I grew from one community to over 50 communities. That's how I built my team. That's how I generated, hundreds and hundreds of leads at low cost. And, from there, obviously, I started scaling that up to 50 communities. It didn't happen overnight, right? But if it's working, if you're generating 10, 20 leads a month with one community, well, just do 50, right? And you just duplicate the process. But now I also have postcards that I send to certain communities that I market online. I don't do all 50, but I send postcards. I also have retargeting. So I don't have community pages on Facebook for these communities. I should. I just haven't had the need to, but it is definitely a play. However, I do retarget. So retargeting basically means, obviously you see a baseball bat for your kid on Amazon, and then all of a sudden you're seeing baseball bats all over the internet, right? So they're retargeting you. As real estate agents, we can do the same. They've made it super easy now to do things like that. And what you want to do is when you drive, let's say you found them online and you grab them on your website, well, now they see you on Facebook because you're retargeting them on Facebook. Or they're seeing you on YouTube because you're retargeting them on YouTube, or on Google because you're retargeting them on Google, right? However, you're also mailing that community because you're farming that community. So now they see you everywhere. And when I market these communities, like my team name is Carlos German and Team. But when I market a community, I change my tagline. So, for example, let's say, we're marketing in a Springfield, right? I would say Carlos German and Team, a Springfield real estate advisor, right in my logo, like it's, I specialize in that community. Not only that, but my email is now carlos@springfieldrealestate.com. Okay, so when they're seeing this thing, the website, my email ties to the community, then I am the go-to agent for that community. I am the dominant agent for that community, but they don't know I'm doing the same thing in 50 communities, right? But it just creates so much impact when people want to work with the expert, with the local expert. So if you're like Orlando real estate expert, well, they're like, yeah, this guy is cool, but the guy that's the local agent is probably knows the community better. So I'm aligning myself, I'm positioning myself as the local agent by changing my logo to match the community as the specialist.
Man, that is awesome. It's congruency.
Right.
Everything is in the community and is customized. So you obviously see a bump in conversion because of the congruency, right? Because it's what matters to those leads, that you are in their community. They recognize the name of the community. So yeah, I love that. That is that's a gangster little tip right there.
Absolutely. And by the way, I know you mentioned earlier on that I was doing content strategy before anybody was doing content strategy. Yeah, I just went and dug really, really deep into what the top agents were doing. I mean, there were agents doing this back in 2006, right? In 2007, I just found them. And I started duplicating and iterating with my strengths. And as the markets went on, I added more things like the retargeting thing. You know, Woods Davis taught me that. And obviously, you and I know Woods, and he was the one that taught me that in one of the conferences I went to. And he told me, you know, how to create retargeting ads. I didn't even know what that was. And all these different things that I've done, like the postcards. My postcards I stole from Michael Reese, you know, completely ripped off his postcards. And that's the kind of stuff that I just pieced together and created this strategy. So really, none of this is original. I'm just great at implementing those things.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, you nailed it. Don't reinvent the wheel. It works. So, and I love the by land, by air, by sea, right? Like that. So we call that the force multiplier effect, because you're going to get a certain conversion rate if all you did was Facebook ads. You're going to get a certain conversion rate if all you did was Google. But when you do Facebook, Google, direct mail, circle prospect, when you start stacking and layering, those things compound. And that's where the magic happens. That's why you see agents dominate a neighborhood. And I loved your strategy about, man, I'm going to go dominate one neighborhood, get some cash coming into the business, and then reinvest into neighborhood 2, neighborhood 3. And then before you know it, you dominate 2 or 3 neighborhoods in your community. You're probably one of the top agents in the whole, MLS.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, one thing that is critical, you want to be the King Kong in a puddle, right? You really want to be that gorilla that's just splashing in a puddle, not drowning in a sea. So if you go and try to implement 50 communities at once, well, then you're a gorilla in a sea and you're drowning because you can't manage all that. But if you're a King Kong just splashing and pushing in a puddle, in a small little community, and they see you everywhere, it works amazingly well. I just bought a course, and the first ad I saw for this guy, I was like, man, it was like so low quality, and to me it just felt like, yeah, that can't be any good, right? And then I saw him again, and I was like, oh, here's this guy again. And then I saw him again, and I clicked on it. I saw his website. I was like, the website was completely mature too, in my opinion. I was like, man, I could do such a better job at this stuff. And this guy's trying to sell me, this, so I overlooked it. But I saw the damn thing so many times, I actually watched his webinar. And, the webinar wasn't anything magical, but he did validate his expertise. The strategy sounded easy to implement, and the strategy sounded like it would work. And, and that's a formula, right? When you're looking at something, if you see something and you feel like, I can do that, I think it will work, and you commit and buy, right? So I ended up buying the course because I saw the ad multiple times. So if you're, again, digging shallow holes in your impact that you're making in the lead generation, like some people go and they pay Google $10, $15, $20 a lead. The lead goes to their website, the visitor bounces off and doesn't register, and they lost that opportunity forever, right? But the retargeting costs are pennies when the acquisition of that traffic costs $15. With just one more dollar invested in that one lead, you could increase that conversion, because there's probably for every 10 leads you get online, there were probably 100 visits, if not 500 visits.
Yeah. So you'll love this. I'm doing a strategy call with a really high-end real estate agent, and he's spending upwards of 3,500 a month on Google pay-per-click in his market. And in his market, he's getting about 150 to 200 leads a month. And I said, man, that'll keep you busy. I said, but in order for you to get 200 leads, you probably had like 1,000 clicks that landed on it. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. I pull up his landing page, Carlos, and I look at the Facebook pixel helper. No Facebook pixel installed. No Google tag manager installed. I had him go to the back end of his landing page. In like the last 6 months, the guy had like 50,000 people click on one page of his website and had spent 30, 40,000 in lead generation. No retargeting, no ability to retarget because he didn't even know how to do a pixel. That's the lost opportunity. And when people say, how are people getting so much meat off the bone? It's because of strategies like retargeting and remarketing with the Google, analytics and Facebook pixel and ad roll pixels. And I could geek out with you all day on stuff like that. I'm not a computer guy. Like, I struggle to get this podcast up and running, but man, I'm a marketer and I love all of that stuff. So I could talk about it all day long. But yeah, that repixeling ability is really critical to get all the meat off the bone. So I love that. What else are you doing for lead generation that has really been working for you, whether it's worked now or just historically has always been a good lead source for you?
I mean, the database, managing the database properly is very, very key. So in all those leads that you've acquired through the years, there's a gold mine. So properly nurturing, communicating, and milking and leveraging that database based on different campaigns and circumstances. Like right now, with everything that we're going through with the coronavirus, we are lifting up, people that are investors from our database, that are opportunists. Because, I mean, we don't know, this may be the bottom of this opportunity. Like, how am I supposed to know? Like, we don't know. We don't have a crystal ball, right? So if you go with a message to market match and you say, listen, we had all these properties with multiple offers. Sellers are scared. They're willing to sell these properties for less than they were 2 months ago. Are you looking for a great opportunity? The interest rates are low, right? So focusing on the database is very, very key. And that works very, very well for us. And also referral generation. We definitely could do a lot better in that department, but we do well there. And a lot of the stuff that I do revolves around that. I also invest now on Zillow lead generation. We started doing that 6 months ago. And it's worked very well for us just because one of my main keywords that I had eventually built up to was homes for sale near Disney World, which now it's not Orlando real estate, but it's a major market keyword. It's not like a community keyword, right? And I wrote that keyword for years, and I was number one. I was higher than Zillow, than Realtor.com, than Trulia for many years, but eventually they caught on. I mean, they got billions of dollars, They just had not gotten around to keywords like that, but it was coming. So, they outpaced me and I started dropping. Plus, Google started putting 4 and 5 paid ads in front of their organics too. So before they used to put 2, maybe 3, and I was number 1, so I was like 4. It was amazing. But then when you add like Zillow and then Realtor.com and everybody start outpacing you, and then you got 4 ads, so you got 4 plus 2, and then it just our traffic dropped significantly on that keyword, and that was a major money maker for us. So we started investing in Zillow and to capture that traffic again. And it's worked very well for us in that zip code, that area where that keyword was winning.
Okay, so let's dig deep in that because the Z word, Zillow, I will talk to 50% of the people and they will say exactly what you said. Zillow is working really well for us. I'll talk to 50% of the people and they say Zillow sucks. I tried it. It didn't work. And I believe I know why it works and why it doesn't work. But why don't you give us a little insight? What are you doing specifically to convert those leads? Why do you feel it's got a good ROI for you?
I mean, from my perspective, Zillow is one of those examples of what you mentioned earlier of the modeling of the right stage in the game. Because, I think Zillow can work very well for a big team that has a big budget, and you go in and you just crush it with a big budget, and you become one of the top ranks in that market. And you're getting the best leads and the best opportunity. If you go in as a single agent with $500 a month, you're gonna get crushed, because the average cost per lead in any market on Zillow is from $100 to $500, and the percentages are the same. It's going to take 10 leads to get 1 to 2 sales if you're great, right? To get that conversion. However, if you're investing $500 a month and a lead is costing you $200, how many months does it take to get those 10 leads? Right? On month 1, you got what? 2, maybe 3 leads. So it takes you 3 months of $500 to get your 10 leads and your 1 sale. Most people won't wait that long, right? So that's the challenge. It's all about the cash conversion cycle. And, I hope people are geeking out. They got to get, I'm a numbers guy. I'm an analytical. So I'm sorry if I'm making you dizzy here with all the numbers. But if you don't know your numbers, you're in trouble. You got to know your numbers, because that's where you optimize. And the cash conversion cycle is what makes Zillow and any other lead generation work or not work. Like if you go and send postcards, like I'm sending postcards, and you don't know it's going to take you 12 months to reach a cash conversion cycle on a farming strategy, well, then you're like, oh, that guy's full of it. I spent 7 months sending this thing and nobody ever called me. Well, how about you send me a text message and ask me how long does it take to make that successful, or a message on Facebook or whatever you can find me, right? And I'll tell you, don't do that unless you're willing to wait this long. So that's my opinion on Zillow. It's all about the cash conversion. For someone that can go in there and spend $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, you're gonna start selling houses within 30 days because you're getting a ton of volume.
And how quickly are you responding to those leads?
Well, that's immediate. Like with the Zillow leads, you can't slip on it.
First of all, like I could see your face. People are listening, and you were like, "Dude, it's immediate." Like you just said it, but dude, that's the problem. They invest and they're paying $100 a lead. They're getting 5 a month, and they're not calling the lead, or they're waiting 24 hours. What's the likelihood of getting somebody on the phone after 24 hours of coming in?
Never. After 30 minutes, it drops by like 90%. Like, you have somebody who just opted in, gave their information because they're interested in something. That first 5-minute window, they're available. They're like right there.
They're on the website. You got to get them while they are still looking at their screen.
Exactly.
So, those are the biggies. If you don't have speed to lead on Zillow, even Realtor.com is the same exact thing. You got to be on those leads immediate, and you have to know your numbers. Same thing. What can you afford to pay cost per closed transaction? When you just said that leads could cost $100 to $500, 90% of the people listening were like, "Oh my God, I would never pay $250 for a lead." But if you knew 1 in 5 turns into a closed sale, so your cost per closed transaction was $1,250, and you're making an $8,000 commission, you would do that all day long.
1,000 times, right?
Yeah, you would do. Yeah, absolutely. And people will like, well, that seems expensive. And I'll say, if I sent you a referral and asked you for 25% of $8,000, would you pay me the referral, which is more than the 12? Well, yeah, I'd pay you the referral. Now, so you got to understand, what is your cost per closed transaction per lead source? Because it varies per lead source.
Absolutely.
So I love that. Okay, so Zillow's working for you. Obviously, past clients, sphere of influence. You're still doing the communities, and you kind of mentioned with communities, you're also doing farming. So you kind of have you kind of blended that all together? It was kind of a natural transition, right? You already have the websites for the communities. So do you have 50 communities, but are you narrowed down to a specific farm that you're hitting monthly?
Well, my market is the Disney area, so most of my communities are in the Disney market. Some of those communities I mail, some I don't, right? And the marketing print marketing strategy that I follow is, I will send let's say you pick a new community, you gotta be known and make an impact right off the bat. So it takes a little bit to ramp up a community. So I usually do 4 to 6 postcards in the first 4 to 6 weeks, right? And I do market reports. So one of those is going to be a market report, like a newsletter with recent sales and stuff like that, which is amazing because they always think you sold every house in the report, when all you're saying is, here's what's sold in the community. I literally, and I know I'm sidetracking here, but I've gotten call from the presidents of some of these HOAs saying, yeah, we were reviewing the market report of the sales that you had here in the board of directors. And, you guys are giving the houses away. Why didn't you price this house higher? We're concerned that you're devaluating the values of the community. That house should have never sold for $200,000. And, I just wanted to let you know that we were taking a look. I was like, oh, I completely understand, Mr. President. I would be very delighted to go into the next board meeting and let you guys know what's going on in the community, why that sale happened. And by the way, when you are in the board of directors, when the board of directors has your report every month in their hands, you're winning, right? So getting back on track here, right? So I send those market reports. I do the 6 postcards. So they see me a lot at the beginning, okay? The postcards has the community website. So when they start getting, bothered, usually they get curious and like, yeah, who's this freaking guy? Let me go to this website to see what it is that he's doing. He's peppering my mailbox with these postcards. Well, now my pixel is in there. Now I'm following them everywhere. And after that initial push, then I slow it down to 2 mailers a month for a little bit, and then once a month. Okay. And then, indefinitely once a month, unless I see a need or an opportunity, like there's a surge of sales or a surge of inventory or something. Now I may do a special campaign for that. Or if I tack on a few sales there, I may do, hey, we just sold this, boom, we just sold this, boom, we just sold this, boom. It's like, wow, this guy's selling everything. So that's kind of how you ramp that up. And the big key is tying it all together, right? Like the postcards have the community website, my email has the community name, stuff like that.
Are you doing every door direct mail?
I do not. Okay, so it is a little bit more expensive. I don't do every door direct. And, the reason for that is because these are hyper targeted to the community. And every door direct is not like that. Every door direct is going to mail a segment of a market. There could be 2 or 3 different communities there with different names. So, and that's relevant in my market. I mean, I don't know how it is in other markets, right?
Yeah, it goes by the mail route. So a mail guy could have part of your subdivision and part of another subdivision. So,
right.
Okay. So that's good to know. First of all, the launch strategy of postcard, absolutely game changer. Everybody should be jotting that down. I spoke with Daniel Beer about the same thing. He does the same exact thing. When he came out of the gate, he wanted to differentiate himself. So every week they got a postcard for the first 6 weeks. Then he went twice a month. So the same exact launch strategy. And that really does very quickly give you some authority, some positioning, differentiates you from all the other agents, gives you top of mind awareness. Now, it's a little bit more of an expensive strategy because you got to be in it for 12 months, the long haul. And what I would tell people is, target neighborhoods that have, average to above average turnover to give yourself the best opportunity, because you could do the right strategy in a neighborhood that has a 1% turnover and you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot with that investment. So I love the postcard. I'm actually doing that postcard strategy myself. Here we kick off this month. So I'm super excited I'll give you the feedback on that too. I'm excited to get that bad boy launched here.
One thing in the cost department, one thing that I do is I actually buy the postcards in bulk. And I don't care about sending the same postcard. It's all about them seeing my message on my face. So I'll design, a postcard. I'll print 5,000 of them or 10,000. They keep them over there at the print shop. They never make it to me, but I'll send 1,000 a month or 500 or 600 a month, depending on the community, however big the community is. But here's the thing. If you order 1,000 postcards, it's going to cost you, let's say, $500, right? And if you order 5,000, it'll cost you $600. So really, because, they're just churning this thing out like it's, the hardest, the most expensive thing for them is the setup, the printing and stuff like that, not the printing itself.
100%. Yeah, we just did the same thing. Like I went in with a mindset of I'm going to get X amount of postcards, and the guy priced it out. And I was like, oh, that's not expensive at all. And he's like, no. He's like, your next price break would be at 5,000. We ended up running 12,000 postcards, and he's going to hang on to them. Yeah. But I'm hitting my communities, and I've got my farm is about 2,700. I prepaid Carlos 4 months, and it's $900 a month.
There you go.
Like, that's cheap, dude.
Yeah,
it's really
absolutely
cheap. $3,600. So yeah, volume, because the setup is where their cost is. Running the print is like, the longer they can keep the same setup running, their efficiency goes up and their profit margin. So that's a great distinction. Like I'm running the same postcard. It's front and back. Like I got 2 offers, either one, each one's got a different tracking domain. So I can see where I'm getting results and what side of the postcard is getting better response. And then in 4 months, when we go into month 4 through 8 strategy, which may be the same exact card, or it may have a tweak based on the feedback that I get, we'll do the exact same thing. So you're running the same. Give us an idea, like what would a postcard say? Because to me, that's where everybody gets stuck is, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to put on it.
Absolutely. Your brand promise is critical. And that's very, very important to deliver that message in everything you do. That is, forward, like if you're actually selling, right? In some of my websites, I don't sell at all. I'm just adding value. Like my community websites, my goal is to make them look like they're an HOA website. Actually, I just yesterday, I got an email for one of my communities, someone writing that somebody removed the wheelchair accessible ramp or something in the community. Please, HOA, I need that back or something like that. I'm not the HOA. They think I am the HOA, right? So that's key on some of those marketing websites. But my postcard is simple. On one side, I have sales that I've closed in that community. And it says, no one sells more real estate in this particular community than Carlos German. It has 5 sales. I wonder if I have one of them around here. Some of them get returned, but I don't think so. But, it has like 5 sales, then, my information, and it shows my price, list price and sales price, which is, really good. Then in the back, I've got a testimonial. with the photo and the message of the client, giving out the testimonial. And then I have my brand promise, which is a play on the expert advisor home selling system. It's just basically we sell homes for up to 18% more than traditional real estate agents. And it's a message along those lines in the card. Like, I don't remember exactly from the top of my head, because I worded it a little bit differently. Like, I made it where I read somewhere that like it needs to read as an emotion, or not just a sell, but something where it's more like a why. So I crafted it a little bit differently, but the whole message is about selling houses for up to 18% more than traditional real estate agents.
I love it. Awesome. All right, man. I want to be really respectful of your time. So I want to wrap it up with two questions. If you were starting all over in another market, knowing everything you know now, so you could shortcut success, what would be the 2 or 3 things you would immediately do in those markets to generate sales?
I would take over a community. Like I would find a community, like you said, with high turnover, meaning houses are moving, they're selling, and low competition where there's no dominant agent, right? I want to be the dominant agent in that market. And I don't care if that community is only going to get me 10 sales. That's a good number. Even if I get 5, 6 sales out of that community, that's fine by me, because my goal is to create a funnel, something that I will duplicate in other communities, because I've already done this, right? So I just want to get the first one out of the gate, see if I can get 5, 6, 7 sales out of it, and then go to another one and do the same. So this is a low-cost strategy. And if I didn't have any money to do like the postcards, which actually that's the most expensive part of the strategy, the print marketing, but that's the easiest part to zero cost, because that same impact you can make by door knocking. You can make that same impact by going to community events, to sponsoring fairs for $100 or something like that. So if you're local boots on the ground, you don't have to do the print, which is the most expensive part. Like the website, and stuff like that is super cheap nowadays. So the higher cost, you can leverage your time, because when you don't have money, you have time. So you get involved in the community, you buy a few books, gift them out to the president of the HOA and the board of directors, add value, connect with them, let them know, hey, if there's anything I can do for the community, let me know. I'm the go-to agent in the area. And, make sure you align yourself with that community and you pick the right community, because if you are climbing up the wrong ladder, you're in trouble. Like, some people fall in love with some communities that are highly dominated by some agents. That's a bad idea. Or communities that are going to have 10 sales a year. Well, you're not going to get all 10 sales. You may get 1, but not, all 10. So you got to have a good amount of community. So I would do that exactly the same. That works today even better than it did back then. And if I didn't have any money, I would do it in that fashion. If I had the funds to start reinvesting in my business, then I would implement the print, because what that allows me to do, now that I have the print going and the online going, then I can go boots on the ground in another community and test that community, see if that's working, do my door knocking, do my local, do my thing with my time. And then that one is already moving. And if that one works, then I leverage, instead of putting time, I put marketing so they continue to see me. They don't need to see me face to face anymore.
I love it. All right. Last question. What are the 2 or 3 skills that an agent needs to master so they can consistently sell more homes every month?
They need to have a growth mindset. I know that's not necessarily a skill, but it is. I didn't have it.
Learning is a skill. Yeah.
I guess, learning is a skill. So I highly exhort, anybody here to become a growth junkie. Okay. Like, my whole thing is, do you crave growth? Like, I'm a success mentor to agents who crave growth. Like I have 800 agents in my organization because they want to grow. They follow me because they want to do better. They want to grow. They want to expand their business, expand their mind. So if you're somebody that craves growth, that skill will lead you to the next level, which is you need to duplicate what you're growing into, right? So if you're learning, and this goes with everything, like if you're learning some strategies, put them into practice. They don't do you any good in your head. Okay. And this is amazing because it works everywhere in life, like everywhere. Like and I know, my son is 6 years old. But that was one of the last times I really had to implement this strategy from zero. Like I didn't know. I had no kids. They don't come with manuals. Nobody taught me anything, how to raise a kid. And I wanted to do a good job. So I'm like, okay, I'm starting from zero. I bought some books. I got some audiobooks. I literally had like 20 audiobooks, a bunch of books. I churned through all of them so that I could find the ones that I needed to go deep on. And I had a few great books on how to raise a kid properly. I was like, okay, these two I'm going to master. I'm going to buy those books in print now. I'm going to highlight them. I'm going to dissect them. I'm going to implement those strategies, right? And just yesterday, I gave 2 of those books to my cousin who has, a baby girl on the way. And I was like, listen, man, I went through like 20, 30 books. These 2, here you go. Just master those 2. You're great, So hang out with people that shortcut the process. So in real estate, there's people that will shortcut the process. So you don't have to go looking for a needle in a haystack, right? And you got to master that, learning that, growing, and then implementing the right strategies. And you're golden. I mean, those 2 things are killer.
I love it, man. That's phenomenal advice. I really want to thank you, man. I'm super excited we got to do this selfishly just to catch up, man. It's been a little bit since we've seen each other face to face. So I miss seeing you, hanging out, and hearing your stories. You are more importantly than a great real estate agent, you are a phenomenal person. So I appreciate you carving out time to give back to the real estate community.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Alex. Obviously, I admire everything that you're doing. You are crushing it. And you're one of those people that, I love connecting with, learning from, and masterminding with. And, at the end of the day, we feed off of each other and grow together. And, I'm glad to have you in my corner. So thank you so much, brother.
Appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Dominant Agent Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please be sure to leave a comment and review on whatever platform you're listening on so that we can continue to bring you the very best guests